Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. So since I did the release and review video for the Tonic Blue Blossom release, as well as Simon's Cheer and Joy release, I have this pile of products sitting on my desk. So I ended up making this card. This wasn't what I was planning on making. I had other things planned in mind, etc., especially Halloween stuff, but I was looking at the colors and just all the things, and I was like, I couldn't resist. I needed to try some things out. So I started with Simon's Outline Christmas Bulbs background stamp. And I just have it face up here, and I have some Distress watercolor paper that I used my anti-static powder tool on first, and then I inked up the stamp, brought the cardstock to the stamp, and then just pressed down with my fingers. It's kind of how I've been using background stamps now forever. I do like using background stamps on my Missy though, because it guarantees, you know, even impressions, that sort of thing. But with this, I was just like, whatever. I was more experimenting than anything, but it stamped perfectly, so I was pretty happy. So I coated it with Simon's silver embossing powder, which is something I don't reach for very often. I don't go for silver very often. I don't know what it is. I prefer gold, which I just thought was funny when I was making this, because I was like, man, back in the 90s, I refused anything that had a gold tone to it. I thought it was hideous. You know, I wouldn't wear gold jewelry. It was all silver. And now that's all I prefer is gold. So I use silver because I thought the silver would look really nice, obviously, with this color combo. So I've got my background, heat embossed in silver. And then I knew what colors I was going to do the bulbs, but I was like, what am I going to do for the background? And so this is also an experiment. I grabbed some Black Ash Nuvo Embellishment Mousse. And I was talking about it in that release and review video, how Embellishment Mousse is water-based. So you can thin it out to the consistency you want. So here I had put a little bit of that paste onto just my little craft mat, and then added water till it was a liquid, like just liquid consistency. And then I tried painting this background with it. So it works. I wonder if like what kind of effects you would achieve if you did like just larger backgrounds, like with a larger brush. Like I'm using a tiny little detail water brush for this. So my only thing that I didn't like was how I have like all these brush marks, but it's personal preference. So I'm going to add splatter and all those things though in the end anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it was interesting to see the like I could literally get it to like watercolor, like water consistency and paint with it. So then I was like, ooh, some of those other Nuvo embellishment mousses, those would look really nice. Mousses. Now I'm getting sidetracked, so I was like, well, mousse, mice, you know, yeah, anyway. After I painted the background, I'm using the Nuvo Aqua markers that I have shown in many videos. And this is the Blue Blossom collection. Normally, I would not think to put these three colors together. But I was so curious about it. I was like, I wonder how the card would look done in these like two shades of pink and the blue. So I'm starting with the one color first, just to keep life simpler. Painting all the bulbs, just kind of mostly at random, but somewhat spacing them out with this first pink shade of the Nuvo Aqua. And I just paint the color on with the Aqua pen, and then I pull out the color with my little water brush. And then once I'm done the first color, I'm going to go on to the second. I did the pinks first because I was pretty sure that the blue was going to be really intense, and it's such a dark color that I didn't want to risk painting the blue first and then pulling that into the pinks, because that usually tends to happen with me. So I kept the most intense color for last. So I went on with this pink, and like, again, I would not ever think to put these colors together. So that's another reason why I like, color collections, the color challenge I do every week, like Nuvo's color collections, all these things, because it just kind of makes me think of colors in a different way and just putting them together in ways that I just normally wouldn't even think of. So I was right about the blue. This is intense. It is so deep. Like, you don't need very much. I had to keep kind of like, I don't apply near as much of it as I did the pinks. It's just one of those colors where it is massively intense. Like, it's almost black when you apply it, and then it just waters out to the prettiest shade of blue. So I just kept going along and painting all these bulbs with that color. I really like how it makes that blue pop with those pinks. I don't know. I just think it's gorgeous. So I just kept going along and painting all of these with that Nuvo Aqua Flow and then my little water brush. And I just have a little like tea towel off that I rest my hand on, and I also use that to kind of wipe off the water brush when I'm working, because the rare times that there is too much water, you know, if it's too wet and I've squeezed it, or between colors, etc., I just wipe it off on a little tea towel, because then I can just wash the tea towel, you know, when it gets too full of ink and glitter and all that stuff. So once I was done coloring in all the bulbs, for the actual little like metal part, I used one of the like Nuvo, like they're called Supreme Metallics. There's a set of 3, and there's a silver, a gold, and a bronze in it, and it's part of their alcohol marker line. But these aren't really alcohol markers. They're more like metallic paint markers is the easiest way to describe them. So if you ever use like a paint marker, you'll kind of get what I'm saying. So they have that kind of tip to it, that funny felt sort of tip. And then it's like a solid metallic style of paint in them. So I used that to fill in all of the little ends here. Just went along and quickly filled those in. That took no time at all. And then once I have all of that filled in, this is where I'm going to start adding some splatter, because too many things I was curious about. Oh, before the splatter, of course, I have to add glitter. Clear Aqua, the Aqua Flow, like clear glitter gloss, Aqua Shimmer pen here. I am adding that on top of all of them. I could have used this to do just the watercoloring of the bulbs instead of my water brush. I could have just picked up all the color with this. However, it's just force of habit with me I like to paint everything first and then kind of add this as like a coating on top. This will reactivate these Aqua Flows. That's why I'm doing like all the pinks first, and then I'll do the blue last, because they're water-based. They get reactivated by the Aqua Shimmer pen. But I just do kind of a light coating. I don't move it around too much, so I'm not really moving the color around a whole lot, but it will reactivate them, so just be aware of that. And again, I stick to all the same colors so that I'm not mixing the colors, you know, picking up a blue and then going and painting a pink bulb. It would literally put blue on top of it. So I just went along, painted all these with that glitter, and at the end I'll of course turn on my flashlight so you guys can see like the insane amount of glitter that is now on all these bulbs. So I added all that glitter, and they've got, you know, that shimmer. It's going to dry. It looks kind of glossy and wet when it first goes on, and then it just dries, and all you see is the shimmer. People have asked me, like, do I seal this? Does it rub off? I don't really worry about it too much. Like, if someone's going to sit and, like, rub their fingers all over a card after I send it to them, well, it's not my, you know, I'm not going to worry about it. But you could, if you wanted to, you could seal it. Like, it doesn't just, like, the glitter doesn't fall off. Like, it stays on the card. But if you really wanted to seal it, you could use, like, a matte sealant, like, spray of some sort if you really wanted to. I've just honestly never bothered. So, these were dry. I splattered them with those 2 new Mica mists that I just showed, the Pink Carnation and the Midnight Horizon. So I just got this light shimmer and then that like blue shimmer splatter here. I just shook the bottles up really well, and then took the nozzles out and flicked them like I do with any other kind of shimmer splatter like that. And then I hit that with my heat tool just kind of quickly, more so I didn't have like any like puddles of the splatter sitting, because I want to add a little bit more splatter. And I didn't want it to, you know, just start creating a huge mess. So I quickly dried it with my heat tool, and then I am just going to add some white splatter with my Picket Fence Distress Paint. Just going to put that in an acrylic block, and then just use one of my little paint brushes to just splatter this onto the card, just to give it that little extra something. And it just adds that extra texture too, to kind of distract from the just texture that I created by painting that background with the mousse. So by the time I get the splatter on, I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like the texture of the background. It all just sort of worked in the end, in my opinion. So I've got to let all that dry. So I'm going to create my sentiments. And I used the Joyful Frame wafer dies. And I die cut some silver glitter cardstock from Tonic. This is the Silver Screen glitter card. That's what it's called. And I'll have links like always. So I die cut the sentiment from that, and I actually just kept the outline portion. I just really liked how that looked. So I'm going to adhere that to just a little piece of pink cardstock that I cut down to be slightly smaller. So I just put a little bit of craft tacky glue on the back of that, and then adhered the cardstock to that. And then I can pop the center of the O out and adhere that as well, just to finish it off. And I was originally going to just leave it like this, but with the busyness of the, you know, light bulb, Christmas bulb background and everything that's going on, I ended up die cutting some navy cardstock from the outline wafer die that's in that same set. And then I'm going to adhere that. So that just kind of, you know, frames the sentiment a little bit better. And then I decided to use that same navy cardstock for my card base. So I cut down the cardstock to 4 1/4 by 11, scored it at 5 1/2. So this will be a top folding A2 size card. I use my anti-static powder tool on the inside because I'm going to stamp a sentiment from the Holiday Greetings Mix 1 stamp set. It's got that lined up on my acrylic block. I'm going to stamp that with the clear embossing ink onto the inside of this card. And then I'm going to heat emboss this sentiment with that same silver embossing powder, just to tie it all together. So once I got that stamped, I can coat it with the silver embossing powder, tap off the excess, and then melt that with my heat tool. And then, honestly, I did think about, I was like, ooh, I could add splatter to the inside of the card too, like get those Mica mists out and add a bunch of splatter. I was like, no, just stop. But it's an option. You could add splatter to the inside too. But I was like, oh my goodness, it's an addiction. Anyway, we can start a 12-step program. You know, Amy's like 12-step program for splatter addiction. But in the end, you're not going to get cured. You're just going to be as addicted as I am. Random. Okay, so I adhered the card panel to the front of the card. That watercolor panel, I ended up cutting it down like just slightly smaller than the A2 card base so that the navy cardstock would kind of frame it a bit. And then the sentiment I popped up with a bit of Simon's Big Mama foam tape, so it gave it that little bit of dimension. And then as the final bit of bling, I'm going to add some sequins and some gemstones. So these are the pink tutu sequins that are part of like the Blue Blossom collection. So I'm going to add a few of those as well as some crystal gems. Just, you know, once you got the splatter and the glitter and the shimmer, why not add some sequins and gems? So I heavily sprinkled those throughout this card front, and I'm just adhering them into place with my craft tacky glue and the jewel picker. And then as I was adhering them, I was like, ooh, this spot deserves a sequin and this spot deserves a little gemstone. So got those all adhered, and then this card was done. So I'm going to show you guys with my flashlight just how sparkly and crazy shimmery this card is. It was fun. It was so fun. So I will have links, as always, in the description box below the video. I'll have a link to my blog post. I'll have a supply list, links to everything. If you want to check it out, check out the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting. I really appreciate it. I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.